Hi, it's Jessica from the Accent Channel. In this lesson, we're going to work on the pronunciation of common American names. When you're working on your accent, it's best to work on words that you use frequently, and we use names all the time. Pronouncing someone's name correctly also allows you to connect with them on a deeper level. So knowing the correct pronunciation of some common names and practicing them until they become consistent and automatic when you speak can really help improve your accent quickly. Let's start by working on the most common baby names of 2016. Here are the top 10 female baby names of 2016. Harper, Emily, Abigail, Charlotte, Mia, Isabella, Sophia, Ava, Olivia, Emma. Many female names in English end with the letter A. Remember your rule for pronouncing A at the end of a word. Most often it will become the schwa, not the vowel A. So be careful not to say Ava, Olivia, Emma, but use the schwa or the unstressed vowel, Ava, Olivia, Emma. And because this final A is at the end of a lot of female names, mine is one of them, Jessica, not Jessica, not Jessica, but Jessica, getting this to be a habit, pronouncing the instead of will really improve your accent quickly. Now let's take a look at the top 10 names for boys from 2016. Ethan, Elijah, Michael, Jacob, Benjamin, James, Mason, William, Liam, Noah. William is a great example of what we call phonemic reduction in English. So if you look at that word and you pronounce every syllable as it's written, William, William, there are 3 syllables. And if I were speaking with an English accent, that's the way I would pronounce it, William. I would pronounce every syllable in that word. But Americans have this way of reducing words and omitting syllables to make it a little bit easier. So as an American, I don't say William, I say Will-yum. I pronounce the L, I lose that middle syllable completely, and then I use a consonant Y sound in the last syllable. Will-yum, William. This is called phonemic reduction, and it happens to a whole set of words in English. Luckily, it doesn't happen to that many words, so it's a small enough set of words to be memorized. Okay, now that we can pronounce the most common baby names of 2016, let's take a look at some popular names over a longer span of time. Here are the most common American names from the last 100 years. Let's start with the females. Emma, Carolyn, Rachel, Janet, Deborah, Samantha, Christine, Catherine, Virginia, Catherine, different spelling, same pronunciation, both with phonemic reduction, not Catherine, but Catherine, Nicole, Pamela, Brenda. Look at all those final A's pronounced as Make sure you're getting those. Ruth. Here's another final A. Angela, Anna, Shirley, Amy, Kathleen, Cynthia, Sharon, Rebecca, Laura, Stephanie, Deborah, Melissa, Helen, Amanda, Emily, Michelle, Carol, Donna, Kimberly, Ashley, Sandra, Dorothy, Lisa, Betty, Nancy, Karen, Sarah, Margaret, Jessica, Susan, Barbara. When pronouncing that name, think of Barbara Streisand. She actually spells her name the way it's pronounced, Barbara. So again, we're reducing an entire syllable. It's not Barbara, it's Barbara. Think Barbara Streisand. Linda, Elizabeth, Jennifer, Patricia, Mary. Very nice. Let's move on to the most common male names of the last 100 years. Jerry, Dennis, Jack, Alexander, Patrick, Samuel, Benjamin, Gregory, Raymond, Brandon, Frank, Scott, Justin, Larry, Jonathan, Stephen, and that one looks nothing like the way it's spelled. Stephen, the PH turns into a V. Unless the person pronounces it Stefan, but we will talk about that in a moment. Eric, Nicholas, Jacob, Gary, Ryan, Jeffrey, Jason, Timothy, Ronald, Edward, Brian, Kevin, Joshua, George, Kenneth, Andrew, Paul, Mark, Donald, Anthony, Matthew, Daniel, Christopher, Charles, Thomas, Joseph, Richard, David, William, Michael, Robert, John, James. So those are the most common names from the last 100 years. One more note about names. Pronunciation of names can change from region to region or based on the person's personal preference. So I read all of these names with the standard American accent, the neutral American accent. But sometimes there can be little changes. For example, let's take a look at the name. What number was she? Where was she? Number 16 on that list. The most standard pronunciation is Sandra. However, the person who has that name might prefer Sandra. So instead of the A vowel, Sandra, she may prefer to be called Sandra with an A. That's her choice. So when someone introduces themselves, really listen to the way that they pronounce it and try to imitate it the way that they say it. Again, it forms a stronger connection and a stronger bond with people if you say their name the way they say it. Another example of this would be Sarah. I read her name with a very standard pronunciation, but if you live in the Midwest or in the South rather than the Northeast, you might say that name as Sarah instead of Sarah. And you may have heard people say Sarah instead of Sarah. One is not right, one is not wrong. The vowel A in that word changes due to a regional dialect. If you know that someone says their name in a certain way, again, try to imitate the way that they are pronouncing it out of respect to them. It's what you would want for yourself. So there can be some regional variations in pronunciations of names, but we practiced the most standard. So that's what I would go with first. And then if you hear a slight difference, you could always ask, oh, do you pronounce your name Sarah or Sarah? When they tell you it's Sarah, make a note of it. Practice using it that way and remember to use it with that person. Yes, you may have a friend named Sarah and you might have another friend named Sarah. And if you can keep it separate, all the better for you. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. This is useful information because we do use names all the time. If you have any questions, please let me know.